Eric here with Team Eccentric, bringing you guys another dual commentary video. This time it is Tom's Odd Eyes Magicians versus my DRACOPAL Ariande deck. I really enjoy the way this pendulum deck works. It's very fun, very consistent, and Tom's deck is definitely very, very good too. I've seen him OTK a lot of people with it. But we decided to do Pendulum v Pendulum just to kind of see the matchup and see how things roll. With that, keep your guys' eyes posted because we will be posting dual deck profiles of it, and we're going to get started. So I start off with the Draco face-off, reveal Luster, and then I reveal Lecter. And there's a Lecter. And so he obviously has to decide. What's good about Draco face-off, it's an instant +1 of any Draco Slayer Pendulum, which is really strong considering that's an instant Ignister depending upon how you play and what cards you have. So he decides odds and evens, and it turns out to be the Luster. So the Lecter goes to the extra deck, and then Luster either goes to field or pen scale. So I put it in my pen scale so that I have a scale 5, because I did kind of draw 2 pen sorcerers, which wasn't the greatest. So I activate pen sorcerer, pen summon 2, attempting pen sorcerer's effect. He just takes a second to read Draco face off. He didn't realize that it is the +1 that it is. So pen sorcerer's effect blows these 2 up. And then after that, I add Skullcrabat and Lizard Draw. As you can see, I'm searching the Guitardle so I can get that Pot of Greed. The Draw 2 combo with the Lizard Draw and the Guitardle is really, really good. It allows you to just cycle through your deck very, very quickly. So I activate the scale, I activate a second scale, I draw off of the Guitardle and then off the Lizard Draw by sacrificing it from the scale. So then at that point, I set 2. I then go to Overlay. I overlay into the Magister. And now Magister's effect at the end phase allows me to search any pendulum card I desire. So at this point, I'm just looking for what would definitely help next turn, and I prefer to, at this point, search the Lizard Draw because I want to get another Pot of Greed next turn so that I can draw and just get more cards. So then it's Tom's turn. And he normal summons. And he normal summons the Skullcrabat and activates effect to search. Now at that point I could have activated one of my counter traps, or I could have activated my warning more specifically. But I decided not to because I know he's probably going to pendulum summon, considering that he's searching scales. So that being said, I figured I'd wait until he decided to mass pendulum summon. So I hold on to the warning, and the Scolding has to stay face down until the other card is gone. So he activates Sky Iris. By the way, he searched the Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon off the Skullcrabat. Who then places a scale, uses Iris to blow up this scale so he can get a search. So he searches Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. So he has 2 Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragons in his hand, which is pretty good because Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon is a searcher in and of itself, as well as being a 25 beater that can do double damage. So he activates scales with Dragon Pit and Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. Pen summons 3 monsters, and I go warning. Like I said, I knew he was going to mass pendulum summon sometime that turn, so I figured I would save the warning for that. And then he just goes to attack my pen sorcerer. And after that, he calls it a turn after setting a card. So then it's my turn, so I draw. Activate the Lizard Draw, attempting Guitardle's effect, and he chains MST, which makes my Guitardle not resolve. So then I activate the Light Phoenix, and then I use Lizard Draw's effect. So then I activate Odd Eyes Mirage Dragon as a scale 8, which just instantly made it so that I have full scales. I then use Magister's effect to detach to special summon Luster. At that point, Luster cannot be used for an Xyz summon, which is fine. I don't use it for that. I then normal summon my Radish Horse. So what's good about Pendulum decks is that they utilize Pendulum summoning in a way, especially this deck, uses it as a way to just get out big monsters like really fast. So I go into Ignister, and Ignister's effect special summons the Master from the deck. And what's cool about it is each and every monster has a particular use. So obviously the Draco Slayers get into Ignister and then they special summon themselves out so that I can use them as material for Ignister's effect. I have the DRACOPALS, which are the draw engine, and then I have the Ariandes, which allow me to activate counter traps for practically free. Everything else in the deck is just an added bonus. So that's kind of how my deck works. So I use Ignister's effect to blow up his pen scale to spin back his Joker, but unfortunately, guys, that is a misplay. He does have Sky Iris on the field, so I could not target his Pendulum Scale as a target for Ignister's destruction effect. The thing about Ignister's effect is only the first part of the effect targets. The spinning effect doesn't target, but the effect where you have to target a pendulum in order to spin back something, is a targeting effect. So I decide to target the Skull Crobat so that I can spin back his scale instead. It was a misplay on my part. I apologized, and we clearly got it situated so that you guys saw. At that point, he's left with one Scale and one Iris. He also forgot to activate Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon's effect at the end of the turn, which just left me with a lot of advantage. So I pen summon the Pen Sorcerer. I use Pen Sorcerer's effect, and I destroy just the Odd Eyes Mirage, I believe. Yes, I destroy the Odd Eyes Mirage, and I get a search. That I search the Unicorn, just to kind of get more cards in my Pendulum Zone in case I have to go into an Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. I then overlay. And then I go into a second Magister, and at that point I switch my other Magister to attack position, and I use Magister's effect and Special Luster, and I had Scolding face down, and that was game. So that's game one. Now we're going to game two. As you can see, the way that my deck works is you use the Performance Palace for draw power and rank 4 plays. Use the Draco Slayers to get out Ignister and for consistency, and then you use the Ariandes and the counter traps to kind of stop your opponent's plays. It's actually pretty decent deck. I wouldn't say that it could stand up to today's current meta, but it's definitely a really good rogue contender at like local events. But now we're going into game two, and this time Tom is going to start. He doesn't want me to set up any of my counter traps, which in my opinion is very smart on his part, because the way when this deck sets up a counter trap and gets a field, it's pretty hard to overcome it. So, but now it's Tom's turn. Tom, I guess, didn't draw the most optimal hand, so he activates Dragon Pit, and then Noble Dragon, Pen summons 3, and then passes. So I activate Terraforming, which right off the bat is a really good play. If only I had the Magical Abductor, I'd be able to get that 3 counter combo that I can search any pendulum I want. So I add Sky Iris, and I activate it. First I activate Pen Sorcerer, then I activate Sky Iris. Iris effect to blow up the Sorcerer, which allows me to search an Odd Eyes card. You see that my deck just gains advantage just off of having cards in your hand, and just, you know, just activating your scales kind of gives you a lot of advantage, other than just what pendulums normally would. So I activate the Unicorn that I search and Ariande. I pen summon 3. I have Kieran, Pendulum Sorcerer, and Lecter. So Pen Sorcerer's effect. Considering what to blow up, because I don't necessarily want to blow up the Ariande immediately because I have a Scolding in my hand. But at that point, I just kind of just figure, well, kind of want the resources, so I guess I'll just blow both of my scales up. So with that, I get the Pen Sorcerer's effect to search. So I search the Lizard Draw or the Turtle and the Skull Crobat. And then Ariande's effect allows me to search the 3 counter traps that he has to choose from. And at that point, he reads Scolding because he doesn't necessarily know what Scolding does. But Scolding is essentially a Solemn Judgment, but it has to be the only set card on your field. which is really, really good in my opinion. So at that point, I believe he tells me to take the warning. Yep, I take the warning and the other 2 scoldings go. So I shuffle them back into the deck. At this point, I'm left with a really, really strong board. So I normal summon the Skullcrobat, which is actually really good because that means it's a target for Kieran to spin back to my hand so that I can spin one of his cards. I search the Lizard Draw. And then activate Guitardle and then Lizard Draw, so I get the +2 effect, or the draw 2 effect. And then use Kieran's effect to bounce. You can see that I just have complete board control with this deck. It's actually really, really fun to play this deck. Just the consistency factor of the deck is really, really good. So I overlay, and I go into, this is a very questionable move, but I just felt like being a little creative here. I go into Honor Arc, and I detach to take his 1 card. The 1 bear Perform Pal or whatever it is, because now he has a 21 and I have a 21 that can detach to protect itself, so I kind of crash them, and then I set 2, and then I pass. I forget to attack with the Kieran, but it's no big deal. I have 2 counter traps face down as well as just so much advantage in my hand right off the bat, so you know, there's a lot going on for me. So I show him the rest of my hand. It was Terraforming, obviously the Skullcrobat, another Scolding. That's the match turned out in my favor, and the match went pretty well. I will be, like I said, posting deck profiles of both of these decks to kind of show you guys, you know, the different variations of pendulums that you guys can play. I will also be getting Connor's pendulum deck as well. But as always, rate, comment, subscribe. We really appreciate any views you guys can give us, and leave any comments in the comment section below of what you thought of this match, if there were any misplays or anything of that nature. You know, anything we didn't notice. But as always, Team Eccentric out. Rate and subscribe, leave your comments and ideas in the comment section below, and don't hesitate to give us respectful suggestions on content you want to see. Eric on behalf of the team saying take care, and Team Eccentric out.